Hello everyone watching this video. I'll be summarizing and providing what I think are the key points and/or takeaways from the Immaculate Constellation document produced to the public by the Congress Representative Nancy Mace. The Immaculate Constellation document, along with all other sources, will be listed in the description. The short and sweet key points of this document are as follows. Multiple whistleblowers have come forward to report that parts of the executive branch of the government have lied about their lack of data on unidentified aerial phenomenon and non-human intelligence on Earth. The government program to aggregate and disseminate data on non-human intelligence and unidentified aerial phenomenon is called Immaculate Constellation. The report goes into detail on multiple different classified examples of unidentified aerial phenomenon captured by multiple different means and methods, such as video, first-hand reports, and intelligence from other countries. It even has a fairly complex section listing the size, speed, signatures, colors, surface details, behaviors, atmospheric phenomena, and biological effects of each major type of unidentified aerial phenomenon. The document also references different types of phenomena previously recorded and/or discussed, such as the jellyfish craft. Supposedly, this information has been collected in regards to national security, and other countries are also doing the same. It concludes noting the disclosure of non-human intelligences on Earth is an important occasion, and that we should not allow the government to use it as an excuse to gain authoritarian power. So that is what I'd say are the most important takeaways, key points, ideas, whatever you want to call them, of the Immaculate Constellation doc. If you want a bit longer summary of the report and the context surrounding it, I'll do that right now. Some background information. Earlier in October of 2024, a whistleblower had come to the public claiming that the Pentagon had lied about their May AARO report, specifically that there was none visiting Earth. Many criticized it, saying it was extremely inaccurate. Even the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, Christopher Mellon, wrote this rebuttal, and I quote, "This is the most error-ridden and unsatisfactory government report I can recall reading during or after decades of government service." Yeah, so evidently there were some people who did not like this report. And well, fast forward a couple months to Wednesday, November 13th, year of our Lord 2024, and Representative Nancy Mace holds a congressional hearing regarding unidentified aerial phenomenon, aka UAPs, in which, according to the New York Post, it was testified that the U.S. government lacks transparency with the public regarding UAPs and alien life. And after said hearing, Representative Nancy Mace released the report on the Immaculate Constellation program. So the introduction section to this document essentially goes over what it'll be about, Immaculate Constellation, and the sources of information used to gather this intelligence. Those being the Unacknowledged Special Access Program, Imagery Intelligence, Human Intelligence, Signals Intelligence, U.S. government bureaucratic records, U.S. government historical records, and other sensitive sources. Something interesting to note here is that this report is a combination of data from multiple whistleblowers, and that there is much more evidence out there, and Congress hopes that it will be made available to them. So Section 1 of the Immaculate Constellation report goes over the Unacknowledged Special Access Program Immaculate Constellation itself, which its primary goal is to aggregate and distribute intelligence on unidentified aerial phenomenon, which I'm just going to call UAP from now, and its other goal is to collect intel on alien reproduction vehicles. Immaculate Constellation specifically aims to collect this data before these reports are circulated to the rest of the military intelligence enterprise. This is supposedly why so few other intelligence community members have knowledge on these events and this operation. The majority of Immaculate Constellation's repository consists of imagery intelligence of UAPs in our atmosphere. Section 2 of the Immaculate Constellation document reveals a lot going over the government imagery intelligence. It lists 9 different examples of UAPs being recorded all over the world by the U.S. military. Example 1 comes from CENTCOM. It was recorded that 12 metallic orbs flew in a row of 3 cuboid formations of 4 orbs each. These were skimming across the ocean in agile movements that were incompatible with known aerospace vehicles. It was also noted that they were somewhere between 3 to 6 meters in diameter. Example 2 comes from CENTCOM again. A recording shows a small oval-shaped UAP flying low to the ground over a sensitive coastal facility at extremely high speeds before parting off over the ocean. Example 3 comes from Indopacom, where it was recorded that a equilateral triangle-shaped UAP appeared hovering 500 to 1,000 meters above a group of ships before disappearing. Example 4 is from Indopacom again. Another equilateral triangle UAP was recorded hovering only 200 meters above another sea vessel. Intelligence reports showed that this was likely an alien reproduction vehicle. Example 5 comes from Indopacom again. A large saucer-shaped UAP came out from a group of dense clouds, being a whopping 200 to 400 meters in diameter. It slowly broke away from the cloud tops before suddenly accelerating back into them, leading Intel to believe it had recognized it was being recorded, in this case, from space. Example 6 comes to you from, you guessed it, Indopacom. This recording reportedly showed a boomerang-shaped UAP flying off the coast of a country before coming to a stop and just hovering. The UAP was then engulfed in a sphere of light produced at the point where the 2 wings of the boomerang UAP met. Example 7 is from Northcom, and they recorded a most peculiar jellyfish-shaped UAP flying across the southern border of the USA. Either aliens love drugs or the cartel is getting innovative. Regardless, it floated across the border with no clear signs of propulsion, almost like a balloon in the wind. Apparently, despite being rare, they have been spotted before in Afghanistan and Iraq. There is reportedly at least 1 compilation videos of these UAPs on a classified government network somewhere. Example 8 is from Northcom, where it was recorded that a supersonic UAP of uncertain characteristics conducted a head-on interception of a USN fighter before abruptly peeling off to the left side of the fighter's cockpit. The 9th and final example is from Southcom, and it simply recorded a tic-tac-shaped UAP flying over the ocean around cloud level. Now on to Section 3, which discusses human intelligence reporting, of which many are reported from military aviators. For this section, the whistleblowers reviewed over 400 human intelligence reports of UAPs from 1991 to 2022. It is noted here that this list is not exhaustive at all, and many other human intelligence sources exist out there. They highlight these following notable trends in UAPs. The most common shaped UAPs were spheres and/or orbs, followed by disks and/or saucers, then by ovals and/or tic-tac shaped UAPs, and finally the rarest UAPs being triangles, boomerangs, arrowheads, and irregular and/or organic shaped UAPs. A couple things to note is that despite spherical shaped UAPs being the most common, they also have many varying designs, leading Intel to believe each design has a different use. Most triangle UAP sightings were almost always equilateral triangles. And finally, boomerang and arrowhead UAPs were always symmetrical in shape. This section also included a series of tables going over the general size, speed, signatures, colors, surface details, behaviors, atmospheric phenomenon, and biological effects of different shaped UAPs. I've decided to not go into detail on all of these because of how condensed this knowledge is, but it's on screen to view and linked in the description to read. The final part of Section 3 goes over 3 examples of first-hand human intelligence reports from military personnel, which I will go over. Example 1 tells about a orange-colored spherical UAP appearing 200 yards above a CVN, which is a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, where it emitted an orange light which strangely illuminated nothing but did reportedly put the crew in a trance. Example 2 recalls an F-22 fighter reportedly being boxed in by 3 to 6 sedan-sized orbs while flying. And example 3 records a spherical UAP appearing above a military airfield with a blurry sphere around it that reportedly bent light, making it look like it had the heat haze effect. It hovered over the base for between 10 to 15 minutes and gave ground personnel headaches and nausea. Section 4 of the Immaculate Constellation report goes over DoD bureaucratic records, noting a pattern of obfuscation and lying about the existence of UAP data. The prime example of this supposedly being the denial of the existence of the Immaculate Constellation project itself. This prevented Congress from receiving the data they needed on whether UAPs are a security risk or not. Section 5 of the Immaculate Constellation document reports on restricted U.S. government historical records. This section states the NSA published a report in 1978 concerning research in the USSR on the topics of biological effects of UAPs on human beings. Along with this, there are other documents recording classified accounts of decades-long competition between other major terrestrial powers to collect, exploit, and field novel technologies derived from the study of UAP and NHI. NHI obviously being non-human intelligence. Section 6 records intel collected from foreign countries' signals, which I think contains some rather interesting information. Data collected from UAPs from foreign countries do correlate to those taken by the USA. Due to UAPs' close proximity to military bases in these other countries, they have come to be classified as national security threats in each country they've been studied. Most common facilities visited by UAPs are associated with aerospace defense, strategic deterrence, and military-sponsored scientific research. This includes nuclear weapons facilities. And possibly the craziest part of the signals intelligence section is that multiple of these countries have attempted to actually engage, intercept, and shoot down these UAPs. Section 7 regards sensitive sources, and it simply says, from mouth to ear. It seems Congress is purposely leaving this section ambiguous, likely for personal safety of those involved, but I'm not sure. The final part of this document is the conclusion, of which I will read verbatim for all watching and or listening, as I do find it rather important. The official disclosure of the existence of non-human intelligences and their presence on Earth is a pivotal moment in human history. The nature of this information is of such incomparable relevance to the public good that it demands to be shared. Some may object and say the disclosure at this time poses too many risks. To them, it must be said that we will never be able to predict how individuals, families, communities, and nations will react to revelations of such magnitude. Moving forward, we must guard against the lure of authoritarian solutions justified by expediency and appeals to national security. The good in humanity will always triumph through time, and it is in moments of crisis that our capacities for achieving the extraordinary are discovered. Be not afraid. This is followed at the very end with these Latin words on screen, of which I'm not going to try to pronounce because I have no idea how to pronounce Latin, but according to Google Translate and Translate.com, it stands for Science Tested by Fire, Truth Through Faith. So make of all of this as you will. It seems to me that the last part of this doc is almost calling upon religious themes, which I do find somewhat funny, considering religion has been aware of non-human intelligences for thousands of years. As Christians, we obviously believe in the intelligences of demons and angels, and obviously the supernatural intelligence of God. And I'm sure other Abrahamic and non-Abrahamic religions share something similar. But regardless, it seems that the case for the existence of non-human intelligences has been strengthened by this document, but perhaps not definitively proven, We'll simply have to wait and see if more whistleblowers come out with information like this report. And if, of course, our executive branch's endless bureaucracies actually admit they have documents on UAPs and NHIs. You also probably noticed throughout this video that I used a lot of AI generated images of UAPs. That's just because a lot of the actual footage and photos of UAPs are incredibly blurry. Some of the more interesting ones I'm showing you on screen right now. I've linked in the description some archives of photos of UAPs for you to look at yourself. And if you want to keep up to date with UAP sightings and information, I suggest joining r/UFOs. As far as subreddits go, they're not bad. In fact, when I went on there for some basic research, there was so much information, photos, and videos on there that I was almost overwhelmed. I honestly hadn't had that much interest in aliens and such for a while now, but considering the significance of this Immaculate Constellation report that came out relatively recently, I figured I ought to document it for you and for my sake. Given all this information, I'd just like to remind you to pray, to stay prudent, to have justice, to be fortitude, to have temperance, to stay faithful, stay hopeful, and to be charitable. Amen, and God be with you.